The NFL Players Association is going to have an annual meeting coming up next month. Even though they're very tight-lipped about their process for hiring a new executive director. Remember, Lloyd Howell resigned last July abruptly. David White, who was the other finalist when Howell was hired, he was brought in as the interim executive director. They haven't said much about the process. They wouldn't even say at their Super Bowl week press conference whether White's a candidate for the permanent job. Of course he is, but they won't say it. Some think that this process is every bit as secretive as it was the last time around, maybe more secretive. And when you have no transparency, nobody really knows what's happening. I understand the arguments for being completely and totally confidential. I don't know that it works with a 2,000-member union who is entitled to know what's going on, who has every right to know who the candidates are, because eventually the representatives who are elected by the various teams will vote on an executive director. You want those representatives to be able to get feedback from their constituents as to who they want. And I really do think we've gotten to a point where the league recognized, maybe after the '87 strike, maybe at some point following that moment, you can use the apathy of the players against them. And I fear that some within the structure of the union have decided in recent years to use the apathy of the players against them. Now, there was strong pushback to the last CBA, which expanded the regular season from 16 to 17 games. But you know what? The league was going to get that anyway. And I keep thinking about our reporting regarding the Super Bowl that will be played in Atlanta in February 2028 to cap the 2027 season. No specific date picked yet, because the league is still holding out hope that the regular season can be expanded to 18 games as soon as 2027, which tells me that as soon as there's a new executive director of the NFLPA, the league is putting pedal to the metal. The league is going to get together with that new executive director, and I think it's going to go like this. I don't know, but this is just my guess, my semi-educated, semi-uneducated guess. You get to know the new executive director, and then you say, look, here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to dispense with the waiting game. We don't want to go through another lockout. We will if we have to. But here's where we'll be in 2031. We'll lock you out until you agree to 18 regular season games. We'll lock you out until you agree to 16 international games. We'll lock you out until you agree to whatever else they're looking for. I think they may take a run at swapping out a salary cap based upon a percentage of all the money that comes through the cash register and commits to a specific amount that will fund the cap every year, with all the excess, if there is excess, going to the teams. And if the revenue falls short, then that's a benefit for the players. But I think they'd like to get away, the league would, the owners would, from sharing the pie as the pie gets bigger and bigger. At some point, as the pie grows and grows and grows, somebody's going to say, we're giving them too much pie. They'll be happy with a lot less than half the pie. The pie is so big now, we can give them a third of the pie and they'll be very happy, and then we keep 2/3 of the pie. There's been some talk. The commissioner gratuitously brought up the question of whether or not the salary cap system as it's currently constructed works for the owners. He said after the May 2025 meetings, and he just brought this up on his own. We spent a lot of time talking about this today. Just want you all to know. Just want you to know. We spent a lot of time talking about this. That's a tell. That's a clue. That's an intended message to the union as to what could be coming. I think they're going to tell the next executive director, this is how it's going to be. And we're going to make you a better offer now than the one we'll make in 2031. And you know why it's going to be better now? Because this one allows us to get to 18 games as of 2027 or 2028. The more that the NFL can bring to the table when it's time to redo the TV deals, the more money the NFL is going to get. And if the new deals kick in 2027, let's say they're negotiated this year and they're good to go next year, you throw in 16 more games, it's easier to justify what the NFL is looking for. You go to 301 total games between regular season and postseason. 301 if you add another 16 regular season games. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done. And at the pre-Super Bowl press conference, the interim executive director of the union, David White, the current NFLPA president, Jalen Reeves-Maben, they both made it clear that the players aren't interested in 18 games. But at one point, White gave it up. He said it's negotiation, and that's what it is. And at least they're negotiating. Lloyd Howell at one point said, "Who doesn't want more football?" You gotta act like you don't want it to get your best possible deal. And I think they're acting like they don't want it to get their best possible deal because they know that once they're locked out in 2031, they'll take it. And maybe the financial offer won't be as good in 2031 as it is if they agree to it now. But the mere fact that they still haven't put a date for that Super Bowl in 2 years tells me they're serious about trying to get this done by 2027, which means they're going to be serious about moving quickly as soon as we know who the executive director is. And I'd be very surprised if the annual meeting of the union, the first one since the resignation of Lloyd Howell, doesn't result in the hiring of a new executive director. And if I were putting odds on it, I'd say David White is a minus 150 favorite to be the next executive director, even though they won't say whether or not he's a candidate. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.